जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवर। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा कृष्ण चंद्र राधे। जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रा। जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव, लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव। जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtottara Sat His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindha Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Chandra Ki Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra Mai Ki Jai Shri Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Ananta Deva Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I'm very happy to be back in Sri Jagannath Mandir after a gap of 1 year. Of course, I have met several of you in the past few days during the Hampi Yatra and also perhaps before. The topic I have selected for today and tomorrow is the explanation of the different types of devotional service as taught by Sri Kapila Dev, the incarnation of the Lord, in the 29th chapter of the 3rd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kapila Dev, as we know, is a Vishnu Tattva incarnation of the Lord. He appeared as the son of Kardama Muni and mother Devahuti. He instructed his mother in response to her questions on various aspects of transcendental knowledge. His father Kardama Muni was a great and powerful sage. Once Kapila Dev was born, when he appeared, he left home for the forest. Mother Devahuti asked several questions to Lord Kapila Dev. In response, Kapila Dev spoke about Sankhya Yoga, the analytical study of the material world, and in particular the process of making a distinction between matter and spirit. And also he spoke about the material nature, the fundamental principles of material nature, and how the living entities move in this material nature, etc., about the samsara. So having heard all this, now in the 29th chapter, she says, "My dear Lord," she's addressing her own son, "you have already very scientifically described the symptoms of the total material nature and the characteristics of the spirit according to the Sankhya system of philosophy." So this already Lord Kapila has taught. Now she is asking, "Yan moolam tat prachakshate bhakti yogasya me margam bruhi vistarashah prabho." Please explain in detail, Prabhu, my dear Lord. Vistarashaha means in detail. Bruhi, please tell me, please explain. Bhakti yogasya me margam, the path of devotional service, of bhakti yoga. Yan moolam tat prachakshate, which is actually the ultimate end of all philosophical systems. It is the ultimate conclusion of all philosophy. Yes, we must learn all the other types of philosophy, but ultimately we must know where they all lead to, where they all culminate. What is the perfection of all these other systems of philosophy? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains how Kapila Dev has already, in these previous chapters, explained many other topics. But Bhakti Yoga is the most important one. He says Bhakti Yoga or devotional service is the basic principle of all systems of philosophy. Any philosophy which does not aim for devotional service to the Lord is considered merely mental speculation. There are different types of philosophical systems. There is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, this yoga, that yoga. Many types of yoga. Fundamentally, of course, these are the ones. But the perfection of all of them and the basic principle of all of them, as Prabhupada says here, is Bhakti Yoga. And he says, without Bhakti Yoga, no philosophical basis is more or Bhakti Yoga with no philosophical basis is more or less sentiment. So he is distinguishing between the two extremes. One is mental speculation, when there is no Bhakti Yoga. And the second, when there is Bhakti Yoga, but without any philosophy. He said that is sentiment. So we have two extremes, one of mental speculation and the other of blind sentiment or fanaticism. So there is that famous quote of Srila Prabhupada in which he says, "Philosophy without religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is simply sentiment or sometimes fanaticism." Yes? How many of you have heard this quote before? So let us repeat it. Yes? Religion without philosophy is mental speculation. Yes? Philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Philosophy without religion is mental speculation. Religion without philosophy is sentiment and sometimes fanaticism. Religion without philosophy is sentiment and sometimes fanaticism. So what do we want? Do we want religion or do we want philosophy? We want both. The true principle of the foundation of religion is philosophy. All religion must be based upon sound philosophical and theological principles and knowledge. So yes, we see that many times there are those who, while following a particular process of religion, may not have any inclination towards or knowledge about the philosophy of that religion. On the other hand, there are those who are perhaps very intelligent from a material point of view, and they have a very striking ability to analyze things, to juggle words, to present arguments. But in their analysis of the word and their speculation, they don't have any place for religious belief, scripture, etc. So these are two types of people. What does Prabhupada say about them? There are two classes of men, he says in the purport. Some consider themselves intellectually advanced and simply speculate and meditate. And others are sentimental and have no philosophical basis for their propositions. Neither of these can achieve the highest goal of life. Or if they do, it will take them many, many lifetimes, many, many years. So we see examples of both categories, and I'm sure we have also met people in both categories. How many of you have met people who are philosophical or they have their own philosophy of life, they analyze things according to their own ability, but they want to have nothing to do with God, with nothing to do with religion? How many of you have met such people? Yes. How many of you have, something, it was okay earlier. Hare Krishna. How many of you have met people who are blindly religious, who do not know anything about philosophy, and they may just follow anything anybody tells them. Go to any temple, worship anything, follow any so-called religious practice, but there is no philosophy at all. How many of you know such people? So there are both types of people. So we don't want to be in either category. We want to be religious, but we must understand the philosophical basis for that religion. We must have a clear understanding of the concepts. And just theoretical understanding of concepts is not important. We must also actually incorporate these things in our life. We must also apply these things in our life. There must be practical application and realization of these things. Srila Prabhupada says here further that Vedic literature therefore suggests that there are three elements, and the goal of life is to follow the principles of bhakti or devotional service and ultimately attain to the planet of the Supreme Lord in full devotion and love as an eternal servitor of the Lord. So what are those three principles? The three elements rather: the Supreme Lord, the living entity, and the eternal relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. Bhagavan, Jiva, and Bhakti. These are the three fundamental elements. Bas, that's all there is actually. Yes, there is a material world, there is spiritual world, there is yoga, there are so many other things, but ultimately, these are the three things. Which are the three? Bhagavan, Jiva, and Bhakti. Bhakti is a relationship between the Jiva and the Lord. So the goal of life is to understand that relationship between the Jiva and the Lord, act according to it, and achieve the perfection of that process, and then go back to the kingdom of Lord Krishna in the spiritual world in full love and devotion. Srila Prabhupada further says in the purport that Sankhya philosophy is the analytical study of all existence. One has to understand everything by examining its nature and characteristics, and this is called the acquirement of knowledge. But one should not simply acquire knowledge without reaching the goal of life, or the basic principle of acquiring knowledge, which is Bhakti Yoga. You see, in another place, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Sankhya Yoga, the analytical study of this world by which you distinguish what is matter, what is spirit, what is body, what is the soul, what is the source of all existence. So by following this process, it is like finding the root of existence. When you find the root of a tree, what is the next thing you do? Water the root of the tree. So similarly, by Sankhya, the principle of analytical study of this creation, you find out the root of everything, then what do? You water the root. That means you serve the root of all existence, that is Lord Krishna. So that is Bhakti or Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga includes Sankhya Yoga in the sense that it includes Sambandha Gyan, finding out who I am, who the Lord is, what is my relationship with the Lord. The other day, I was discussing with some devotees that there is something called an elevator pitch. You know what is an elevator pitch? Suppose you're going up with somebody in a lift in a building, and as soon as you enter the lift, somebody asks you a question. What is your ISKCON philosophy, your Krishna conscious philosophy? What is it? Can you tell me? And he has to get down in the third or fourth floor or something. So you have only 30 seconds to answer. It usually comes, it's like a salesman going to sell his product. The customer doesn't have much time. So 30 seconds he has to explain everything. So like that, you're in the lift or the elevator with somebody and you have to explain the whole philosophy in 30 seconds. What is your whole philosophy about? Maximum 40 seconds. Yes? So how will you explain? So one time I was asked this question and this is how I answered. This philosophy consists of the following questions and the answers to them. Who are you? Or who am I? Who is God? What is my relationship with God? What is this material world? What is my relationship with this material world? What is the relationship of the material world with God? What is perfection of life or the goal of life, and how does one achieve it? I am the eternal servant of God. I am the spirit soul. God is the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna. We are eternal servants of Krishna, and therefore we practice devotional service of Bhakti Yoga to develop love for Him and return to the spiritual world and come out of the cycle of birth and death. The soul is currently trapped in this material world in the cycle of birth and death. By rendering devotional service, we can get out of the clutches of material nature and revive our constitutional position in the spiritual world. I don't know, it became 1 minute, maybe. Actually, at that time I gave a shorter answer. I elaborated a little bit because we are not sitting in an elevator now. So the brief philosophy is like this. If somebody asks you what is the philosophy, in 1 minute you tell them the philosophy. Simple. This is the age where people's attention span is very low. They can't listen. So there were some people telling me that now the rage is very short clips on the YouTube and whatever other things they have. More than 5 minutes people cannot see. They don't have the patience to see. So your clip should be only a few minutes. So following that principle, let us say 1 minute elevator pitch. 40 seconds, 30, 40 seconds, 1 minute maximum. Explain the whole philosophy in this. So Prabhupada has condensed it even more. Bhagavan Jiva Bhakti. Thus. So Bhakti Yoga includes Sambandha Jnana. Therefore, it includes Sankhya Yoga actually. Because all other yogic processes are also part of Bhakti Yoga in the sense that they are all meant to bring us to the point of Bhakti Yoga ultimately. So Bhakti Yoga includes finding out who is the root of all existence, who is God, who am I, what is my relationship with God, and then you serve. So Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana, which is the ultimate fruit or the result of performing devotional service, which is love of Godhead. So Bhakti Yoga includes that. And this is what Srila Prabhupada says in the purport here. And he states that if one gives up Bhakti Yoga and simply takes to the analytical study of nature, of things as they are, the results will be practically nil, he says. It's a waste of time. There are many people who try to understand and analyze the world just by speculating. There was a very famous, world famous physicist, scientist. He was brilliant mathematician, etc. He passed away just a short while ago. And he said at one time, I want to understand the mind of God with mathematics. Of course, he doesn't believe in God, but he was trying to say that what he wanted to say with this was that I want to understand this world just by mathematics, by logic, by reasoning. But it's not possible. As Brahma says in the Brahma Samhita, you can continue for millions of lives trying to speculate in this way and you will never learn. You will never understand the reality or the ultimate truth. So therefore Prabhupada says here, the end result will be practically nil. So that we should not give up this path of devotional service for anything. We are very fortunate that we have this particular path. As Brahma says in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, Shreya Sritim Bhakti Udasyate Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevala Bhota Labdhaye. He says, if somebody gives up Udasya, Bhakti Yoga, if he gives up Bhakti Yoga for the sake of speculation, Kevala Bodha Labdhaya, for attaining some speculative knowledge about the impersonal, trying to analyze the world, Shreya Shritim Bhaktir Udasyate Vibho. Oh my Lord, if somebody gives up this path of bhakti, which is Shreya Sritim. Sritim means the path. And Shreya means the path or the greatest welfare or the greatest benefit. We have all heard the two terms Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas means immediate benefit, usually referring to material benefit. Shreyas refers to the ultimate benefit, the higher benefit, which is usually, when we refer to Shreyas, we talk about the spiritual benefit. So the path of the highest spiritual benefit is bhakti. That is what Brahma is saying. He is the authority. Shreya Sritim Bhakti. So bhakti is a Shreya Sritim. It is a path of the greatest welfare. But Udasyate Vibho, oh my Lord, if somebody gives up this path of bhakti, for what purpose? Kevala Bodha Labhyate. For the sake of attaining this speculative knowledge, impersonal Brahman and Virat Rupa and so many other things. Klishyantiye, he only gets suffering. Is only struggle, that's all. Nothing else but that. And because of this struggle, they don't arrive at the truth. What is it that they gain at the end of it? Nothing. Nanyat stulatu shavakhatinam. At the end of it, they simply get trouble, like when you beat rice paddy, which has no grains. the husk, only the husk in which the grains have been removed, and then you keep beating the empty husk, what benefit will you get? Sthula tusha is the empty husk of the rice. Normally when the grains are full, when the husks have the rice grains in them and you beat them, then the grains come out. Then you get the rice grains and then you can use them, you can eat them. But if the rice has already been, the grains have already been removed, what is the point in beating the husk? It is simply a waste of time, and the only gain is trouble. There is some gain, but the gain is suffering, trouble. You only gain trouble. So Brahma says at any cost one should not give up this path of bhakti, which is the most auspicious path. In the next verse, Devahuti continues to speak, and she says that she wants to know, please describe in detail both for me and for people in general the continual process of birth and death. For hearing of such calamities we may become detached from the activities of this material world. So she wants to know, Achakshva jiva lokasya vividha mama samsritihi. Achakshva means please describe, my dear Lord. Jiva lokasya, for the welfare, for the sake of the people at large, and mama, for my sake as well, vividhaha samsmritihi. So explain the process of samsmriti, the continual repetition of birth and death. We just heard this word sritim in the verse of Brahma. Yes? What is that verse? Shreya sritim bhakti udasyate vibho. Sritim means the path. So here also she uses the word vividha mama samsmritihi. Samsmritihi. So samsmritihi, smriti, or sriti. Sriti refers to that path where you're wandering, where you go again and again. Sam means complete. So it is from samsriti that the word samsara comes. So the word samsar comes from samsriti, samsri. So this samsar means the path where there is constant repeated wandering round and round and round and round in the cycle of birth and death, again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Yes? To be born again, then to die, take birth again in a mother, through a mother's womb again, and back and forth. This is called samsriti, sriti, samsriti, or samsara. So she wants to understand, for her own sake and for the sake of the people in general, the nature, the true nature of the continual process of birth and death, samsara. Why does she want to know that? For the sake of creating detachment. Virago yena purusho bhagavan sarvato bhaved. By hearing about the miserable nature of the world, one should get a sense of detachment. Many times people, object when we speak Bhagavad Gita and we speak about Krishna saying dukkhalayam ashashvatam, and they say, why are you people so negative? You're describing the world in such negative terms, full of misery. So what is all this? So what do we do in life? What is the scope? There will be no purpose left to live, if you just describe so negatively everything. But the point is, this is the reality. We are not speaking some falsehood or some imaginary situation. We want to bring people out of the imaginary situation in which they have placed themselves. We want people to be exposed to the reality of life. And this reality of life, by understanding this, actually we will get some sense of detachment. So the purpose of often speaking about the true miserable nature of this world is so that it brings about in our heart a sense of detachment. Viragaha. Raga means attachment, as in anuraga or raga bhakti. Raga bhakti is the bhakti of the Brajavasis to Krishna, the highest bhakti, extremely intense bhakti. because the word rag means intense. It means attachment. Ragatmika. Ragatmika means that bhakti whose very essence is intense attachment. So the opposite of raga is viraga. The V means vigata raga, that means without attachment, without intense attachment. So by hearing about the misery of the world, birth, death, old age, disease, etc., then we start thinking, my God, there is no hope for me to get material happiness here. So I should better learn some sense of detachment from the world. Because the more I attempt to get happiness by trying to enjoy this world, the more I will suffer. The reactions will be very miserable. So I should better get a little detached from this world. So Mother Devahuti understands this very well. So in addition to understanding Bhakti Yoga, she knows that we must also understand the philosophy of this material world and the cycle of birth and death. So Prabhupada says in the purport that in this verse, the word samsritihi is very important. And it refers to the same verse that I have mentioned earlier. Shreya Sriti means the prosperous path of advancement towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And samsriti means a continued journey on the path of birth and death towards the darkest region of material existence. So there are two paths, Shreya Sriti and Samsriti. Shreya Sriti is the most auspicious path of Bhakti Yoga. And the Samsriti is the most inauspicious path of continued material existence, which will take us down further and further into material consciousness and suffering and the darkness of ignorance. So we have to learn about these two paths. It's very important to know the distinction between the two. Which road are we going to take? And Prabhupada later says, this continual change of bodies in birth and death is called samsara. Devahuti requests her glorious son Kapila Muni to explain about this continued journey to impress upon the conditioned souls that they are undergoing a path of degradation by not understanding the path of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. The reason why it is important to understand the true nature of samsriti or samsara is that then we will want to find a way out. If you think that you are not in bondage, you will not look for a way out. Imagine the condition of a prisoner who doesn't think that he is in jail. Why would he ever desire to leave the jail? He will think this is a nice place to be. Everything is okay here. It's alright, I'm in a little cell. I get some dry chapatis once, twice a day. I have to do a lot of hard work. It's alright, it's fine. But I do get some bit of pleasure here and there. I can go for a walk in the evening. They give me 10 minutes to walk. So it's fine. So if he doesn't think he's bound, he doesn't think he's in bondage, he doesn't think he's suffering, why will he want to go out of the jail? He'll think it is a good place. But if you know the nature of your bondage, if you know the nature of your suffering, then you will want to come out. So, and how do you come out? Bhakti Yoga is the only complete process, because you have to go to the spiritual world, which is our ultimate destination. That is our real home. But why would we want to go back to the spiritual world if we don't think that this is a miserable place here? If we think this is a happy place, we will have no reason to want to go to the spiritual world. So therefore it is very important that we have to understand the true nature of this world. Chanakya Pandit says at one place that there are three things we must always remember. The three experiences we must not forget. One is the experience of disease and pain. When we have severe stomachache, severe headache, Yes? When we come out of it, we forget it. We should not forget. We should remember. Second is the experience of a smashan. When you go for somebody's funeral or cremation and you're remembering, oh, this world is so miserable. The body is going to get finished. One day I'm also going to die. What is the meaning of this world? A sense of renunciation comes in. By hearing about these two, by being in the smashan, and also by experiencing the pain of disease, we understand the true nature of this world. It helps us develop a sense of renunciation. But merely developing a sense of renunciation and a disgust for this world, it will only make us depressed unless we understand that there is a higher positive alternative. That is the reality. That is why the third thing that he says, that we have to go and attend Dharma Khyana. Akhyan means a lecture. So we have to hear spiritual discourses where not only will we hear about the miserable nature of this material world, but we will also hear about the blissful nature of the spiritual world and how we can experience that bliss even when we are here in the material world and prepare ourselves for that eternal life of bliss in Lord Krishna's kingdom. So it is not enough to just know that we have to chant the holy name. It is not enough to know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We must also know the material world in which we are living and what is its true nature and what is our relationship with this material world and how it is that we are being bound severely. Tepesha tantryam urudam baddhaha. As Prahlad says in the Bhagavatam, Isha tantryam. Isha means the Lord. Tantra means the rules or the laws. Urudamni baddha. So we are bound tightly by the laws of nature, the stringent laws of nature, and we don't even know it. We think we are free. And this is the genius of Maya, that she binds the living entities in such a way that the living entities do not even realize that they are bound. They think they are free. Imagine what a jail in which the prisoners all think that they are free and happy. Yeah? This is the material world. This is the material world where everybody thinks I'm happy. Prabhupada used to say, you go to a hospital to meet somebody and ask, how are you? And say, I'm fine. So Prabhupada said, if he's fine, why is he in the hospital? Yes? So this is the nature. So we have to understand. So Mother Devahuti wants to hear for her sake and also for the sake of, for the other Jiva Lokasya, for the Jivas and the conditioned living entities in the material world. She wants the Lord to describe what is the true nature of this samsriti or samsara. And then she goes on to say, please also describe kalasya ishvara rupasya paresham cha parasyate. Please also describe the nature of time, eternal time, kalasya ishvara rupasya, which is a form of the Supreme Lord, which is your own form. So Kala is Ishvara Rupa. It is also a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, for those who say, I don't believe in God, they will also see God. But they will see God in the form of time. At death, God will come to them as time, as the time factor. And as time factor, when it comes as death, they will see death, and in that way they will see Ishvara Rupasya, Kalasya. They will see the Lord in the form of time. But they don't realize it. So she says, please indicate what the nature of time is. Swarupam bata kurvanti yad hetoho kushalam janaha. by whose influence people in general engage in the performance of pious activities. So please tell me about the nature of time. You see, Mother Devuti's questions are very pertinent. She is not only asking about Bhakti Yoga, she is not only asking about samsriti or samsara, about the material world, she is asking about the third very important factor, which is time factor. We all know from our study of Bhagavad Gita that there are 5 basic topics in the Bhagavad Gita. Ishvara, Jiva, Karma, Prakriti, Kala. So now she's asking about all, just see. So Srila Prabhupada, by what time do we have to stop, by the way? We will continue tomorrow morning there is a class, isn't it? What time is the class? So do you have a specific verse that is discussed tomorrow morning? We'll continue with this theme. Okay. So tomorrow morning as well as tomorrow evening. Alright? Till what time we will go on now? It's 8:35. 9 o'clock. Everybody will get late to go back home. And tomorrow everybody is eagerly looking forward to going and voting, I was told. So everybody will go to vote. So everybody has to sleep well and decide well what they want to do. Think carefully. No? Okay, just a few minutes more. Then Devahuti says, "My dear Lord, you are just like the sun, for you illuminate the darkness of the conditioned life of living entities. Because their eyes of knowledge are not open, they are sleeping eternally in that darkness without your shelter. And therefore they are falsely engaged by the actions and reactions of their material activities. And they appear to be very fatigued." Interesting name for the Supreme Lord here that Devahuti gives, Yoga Bhaskara. How many of you have heard this name of the Lord? Yoga Bhaskara. What is Bhaskara? Sun, Surya. So Yoga Bhaskara is a sun of the system of all yogas. Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. The Lord is described herein as Yoga Bhaskara, the sun of the system of all yoga. Devahuti has already requested her glorious son to describe Bhakti Yoga, and the Lord has described Bhakti Yoga as the ultimate yoga system. So why is the Lord called Yoga Bhaskara? Because He descends to illuminate the dark, ignorant life of the living entities in this world. And He gives the people the opportunity to light up their lives with Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, life is full of the darkness of ignorance that leads to suffering and misery continuously, samsriti. But when the Lord descends directly and also in the form of His devotions, the process of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, He illuminates everything. So what this dark and miserable world needs is the illumination in the form of Bhakti Yoga. It needs Yoga Bhaskara, the Lord as Yoga. So when Mother Devahuti asks such questions, then this is a conversation between Maitreya and Vidura actually. The pastime of Kapila Dev and Kardama Muni and Devahuti is all being explained by Maitreya Muni to Vidura in response to Vidura's questions. When Vidura has left home and he is traveling in different places and he meets Uddhava, and Uddhava says, "You don't ask me please because a senior personality is present nearby, Maitreya Rishi, very exalted sage. So please go there." So then Vidura goes to him and asks him many questions. And practically the entire 3rd and 4th cantos reflect the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So this whole episode of Kapila Dev's teachings and the chapters before that are all part of the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Maitreya is teaching Vidura based on Vidura's questions. So Maitreya says to Vidura, addressing him as uh, the best of the Kurus, Kuru Shrestha. The great sage Kapila, moved by great compassion and pleased by the words of his glorious mother, spoke as follows. So Srila Prabhupada mentions here that Lord Kapila was very satisfied by the request of his glorious mother because she was thinking not only in terms of her personal salvation but in terms of all the fallen conditioned souls. Very important point. Why was the Lord even more pleased with Mother Devahuti? Number one, the questions were very good. They were very relevant. So when the Lord or his devotees hear very relevant, pertinent, important questions, they feel pleased. You see, it needs intelligence to ask the right questions. People in this world are asking all sorts of questions, but very few questions are really very pertinent to our Shreyas, our eternal benefit, ultimate benefit. Many questions are asked regarding prayers. As Prabhupada used to say, even the birds and animals every day, from the time they wake up in the morning, they start their chirping or they're making various noises, asking where is food, where is shelter, where is this, where is that. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending are the usual topics of discussion and questions for the living entities in this world. But then the real questions have to be asked. When the sages of Naimisharanya asked good questions to Suta Goswami, what did he say? What did he reply? Munayaho sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir loka mangalam yat kritah krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. He said, Munayoho, oh my dear Munis, sadhu prishtah aham. Sadhu means very good, very nicely, very good questions. Prishtaha, you have asked me. Aham. Munayahu sadhu prishtoham, you have asked me very good questions. Why are they very good questions? Why does Suta Goswami praise the sages? Because they asked him good questions. What are those questions about? Yat kritaha Krishna samprashno. These questions are about Lord Krishna. And bhavadbhir loka mangalam. Therefore, these questions will lead to loka mangalam, the auspiciousness and welfare of the whole world. So these questions are shreyas because they are concerned with the ultimate well-being of the people of the world, all the living entities of the world. Yenatma suprasidati, by which one's very soul will be completely satisfied. So Kapila Dev is extremely satisfied with the questions that his mother has asked. They're very pertinent questions, very thoughtful questions. But that is not the only reason why Kapila Dev is happy. As is mentioned here, he is also pleased by the words of his glorious mother. Because, as Prabhupada says here, that she was thinking not only in terms of her personal salvation, but in terms of all the fallen conditioned souls. So because Mother Devoti had so much compassion for not just her own salvation, but for all the living entities of the world who are suffering in this material world, because she had that big heart, that feeling of compassion, so Kapila Dev, the Supreme Lord, was very pleased. Just see, I'll read 2 sentences from the purport. Please hear carefully. The Lord is always compassionate towards the fallen souls of the material world. And therefore, He comes Himself or sends His confidential servants to deliver them. Since He is perpetually compassionate towards them, if some of His devotees also become compassionate towards them, He is very pleased with the devotees. In other words, if we want to please the Lord, it is not sufficient to just personally chant, to just personally read the books, to just personally come and hear the lectures, to just personally worship the deities. It is not enough that we only think about our own perfection. How will I become a pure devotee? Certainly we must think that. But we must also think, in addition to this, we must think, how can I help others also to come ahead on the path of pure devotion? That is the question. The moment we start thinking like that, and we become really and truly concerned about the miserable plight of the people of this world who are suffering in forgetfulness of Krishna, when we start thinking about them genuinely and thinking, well, what can I do? What can we all do together to help the suffering people of this world come out of their suffering and attain to eternal bliss? When we start thinking like this and we start acting on that platform and then participating in this missionary activity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as established by Srila Prabhupada in the modern day world, then Krishna will be really pleased with us. In other words, we have not to be only concerned selfishly about ourselves. We should not be concerned merely with our own pure devotional service also. We should also be concerned with how others can also obtain the benefit of pure devotional service. Prayena deva munayo svavimukti kama maunam charanti vijane na parartha nishthaha. Prahlad says, my dear Lord, he says to Lord Nrsimhadev, my dear Lord, there are many sages and renunciants and so on, munis, who are very keen about their own personal salvation. Prayana deva munayoho, there are many munis like this, sages. Prayana, almost always, oh my dear Lord, Deva, sva vimukti kama. Their only desire is kama of sva vimukti, of their own liberation or salvation. Na para artha nishtha. Na parartha nishtha. They don't have this feeling that I should also help others attain salvation or liberation from this world and from suffering. They don't have that feeling. So Prahlad is bemoaning this fact, that how sad it is that these people are spiritually inclined. They want to attain spiritual perfection, but only for themselves, not for others. But Prahlad says, I am not like that, my dear Lord. I want to, my only suffering, my only pain is that I see all these suffering people here in this world. And therefore I want to do something for them. This is the spirit of a genuine Vaishnava. And this is the spirit that actually pleases Lord Krishna. So we see here the two reasons why Kapila Dev was pleased with Mother Devahuti. What was the first reason? She asked the relevant, pertinent, important questions, and in the right way, in the right spirit. And the second, because she was asking these questions not just for her own auspiciousness and liberation, but also for the sake of the living entities of the world who are suffering here in the cycle of birth and death. So Prabhupada continues in his purport and said, in the Bhagavad Gita it is clearly stated that persons who are trying to elevate the condition of the fallen souls by preaching the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, namely full surrender unto the personality of Godhead, are very dear to him. Thus, when the Lord saw that his beloved mother was very compassionate towards the fallen souls, he was pleased, and he also became very compassionate towards her. So if we want the compassion of the Lord on ourselves, we should be compassionate on others. But of course, we cannot be compassionate on others without being compassionate on ourselves. We tell others, you chant, 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 but ourselves we don't chant. We tell others, you read Prabhupada's books, but we don't read Prabhupada's books. Yes, that won't work. So like charity, compassion must also begin at home. So we must do compassion to ourselves by taking to devotional service seriously. And simultaneously, we must practice devotional service by being compassionate upon the living entities of this world. And that is actually part of our sadhana bhakti. That is also part of the process of devotional service. Preaching is also an important process of making personal advancement in Krishna consciousness. The Vaishnava Dharma, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, has three important components. The first is Name Ruchi, to have taste in the chanting of the holy names. And associated with that is all the philosophy and everything else that goes with it, because it is all meant to bring us to the point of faithfully and devotedly chanting the names of the Lord and to get taste, ruchi in that chanting. So Name Ruchi is the first principle. The second principle is Vaishnava Seva, to serve the devotees in every respect. And the third is Jive Daya, to have compassion, Daya, upon all the jivas and the conditioned souls. So it is not sufficient to just have Name Ruchi. It is not sufficient to only have Name Ruchi and do Vaishnava Seva. It is important that we should also have Jive Daya. But another very important point, we cannot do Jive Daya unless we do the other two things. If there is no Name Ruchi, that means there is no Krishna consciousness, we don't know Krishna conscious philosophy, we don't know what is the meaning of the holy name, we have no idea of Bhakti Yoga, or we may have some idea but we are not practicing it, and we don't serve the Vaishnavas, the devotees, then we will not be able to understand also what is Jiva Daya. Then our Daya for the Jivas will be misplaced, misconceived. Then we will think of this Daya only in material terms, in terms of the material body. But when we have the understanding of Krishna consciousness and we practice it through Name Ruchi and Vaishnava Seva, then we will truly understand what it means to have compassion on the living entities of this world, Jiva Daya. So all three are required. Then the Lord will be actually pleased. So then Kapila Dev, being very pleased, now starts answering those questions. How does he begin answering? We will see tomorrow morning. So if you want to know what Kapila Dev replied, you will have to come tomorrow morning. At what time? 8 o'clock. Tomorrow is a holiday? Is it a holiday? Yes, it is a holiday. So you can come. 8 in the morning, we will continue this discussion, and then tomorrow evening as well. Lord Kapila Deva ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj ki. We are all very fortunate to have the most purifying and